That's true. Obviously, very disappointed in the way we started the game the other night. It's one of those things that, to be brutally honest, just saw coming. We didn't practice very well for a couple of days. It was an immaturity that we had kind of in that approach and really hadn't seen it. I had not paid a whole bunch of attention to getting down 8-2 to Lindenwood or the early starts because I knew we were prepared, and those things happen, in a ball game. But the using all your timeouts in the first half and not getting the spark, the flame lit. Was very frustrating. It's been something that we've worked very hard to try to address and ask those questions why. But shoot around wasn't very good that day, and we've got to grow from that. We've got to have tremendous respect for our opponents. We've got to have tremendous respect for the game of basketball and how you approach it, and we've got to try to eliminate those. Coaches spend, Orlando had the scouts spend a ton of time in preparation and going over it, putting a plan together, and to really not go out and execute anything. We knew we were going to get an angry Miami team. They lost 2 in a row in their multi-team event over the holidays, and they had a week to practice. And Jim's a terrific coach, and that team responded. So. I hope our team does the same as we head into Big Ten play. Obviously, you got one of the best teams in the country in Maryland who's playing exceptionally well. And so it's a great opportunity for us to show our pride, show what we're made of. And we've been a completely different basketball team in practice heading into this one as we were prior to the Miami game. So. Excited about a great opportunity. Maryland's terrific. Anthony Cowan's off to one of the great years in college basketball in terms of his numbers are way up. He'll be as good a guard as there is in the Big Ten, and they're a little different basketball team than they were a year ago, playing smaller, playing more cell, more at the 4. Stick Smith is obviously a pro prospect and a guy that's garners a lot of attention. It'll be a great challenge for us up front. But the head of that monster is Cowan, and he's done that for 4 years. A senior that's been a 4-year starter. So they're playing awfully well and coming off an easy win against Notre Dame in the challenge, and we'll have to play awfully well.
Sorry, go ahead.
With all that being said about slow starts, do you make a change in the starting lineup? Do you change rotations? What are you trying to do to get your team off?
Yeah, it's not that the slow starts aren't predicated on who's in the game. It's more the mental approach of how we do things, and like I said, the Lindenwood 8-2, I felt great. That didn't have anything to do with personnel or that's they made a couple shots and they throw something a little different at you than you've seen in a scout or preparation. The other night was not as much Miami, and I don't want to not give them credit. They were terrific, but it was a lack of focus. So we've kind of opened things back up and kind of reevaluating a lot of things. And to be honest, it's not a one-person problem. It's been a collective thing that we've got to address as a group in terms of preparation for games.
How tough is that for you to say you need 3?
Well, Duke lost to Stephen F. Austin.
Sure.
Kentucky lost to Evansville. I think Coach K's been there 30 years. It happens. It's amateur sports. It's Mississippi State lost to Louisiana Tech. We lost to a really good basketball team. But I think every season you have 1 or 2 of those games that you just, you don't have an explanation for, and you try. And there's been, been a lot of soul searching and a lot of communicating and talking, and this group is a proud group. We came from 27 down and had a chance to win it, so that'll tell you their pride, and they were embarrassed, and so we'll be fine.
Do you like jumping right back into Big Ten play now, number 3 team in the country on the road after a game like that?
Yeah, it's the next one on the schedule, and we don't have any say in who we play. It doesn't matter who we play in this league. It's going to be a great opponent, and we're on the road, and just so happens that it's Maryland, and they're ranked number 3 in the country, and it's a great opportunity for us to rebound and go compete.
Brad, assuming this happens again, assuming you might not have 25 great shoot-arounds the rest of the year, is there a group of guys that you can turn to and go, hey, get them in gear?
That's what we're looking for. That's what we're continually looking for. There's got to be that Thomas walkout, as I used, or a Juwan Evans or a Phil Forte, as we've talked a lot about, Tom Brady, that understands that the preparation is the key to success. It's not just flipping the switch on game day and being able to go do that. So in the meantime, I'll be handling those responsibilities.
Is there anything you can pinpoint those practices before Miami too? You've been able to identify why they weren't the normal?
Yeah, we weren't as dialed in mentally, and it's a focus, and it's I don't want to say complacent because we haven't we've won some games, but and we were playing better, but it's never that easy, and it didn't matter at that point what we were doing, and we had a lack of mental focus, and we tried to handle that at the time, but obviously they didn't get the message.
Tactically, do you expect teams to try to continue to get Kofi out on the perimeter on defense, and if so, what can you do to mitigate that, or what's the challenge of it?
He's a freshman. He's seeing things for the first time. It's called practice. That's what we do. And there's no secret as to what Miami tried to do. And we countered by going small. And it's a challenge when the guy goes 8 for 8 and has 23 or 24 points, and you want him in the ball game. But we got back in the ball game because he wasn't in the ball game at that time. And we know Kofi can guard it, and but he was a freshman, and he got exploited for some of those things, and we made the switch late when we did have him in the game. We just did a little what we call a fly switch, and put DeMonte or Georgie in that action, and it helped us. It got us back in the game.
So Likes and Cowan are 2 different types of players, but was there something that you learned Monday just about defending a point guard that can dribble himself out of trouble and get his team out of trouble?
Well, yeah, and that one's really experienced, and he's a unique guy. There's not a lot of guys like Likes in terms of his ability and his sheer speed to do that, and we knew that was a problem coming in, and could be a challenge. He had not been shooting the ball great, but obviously he was in an aggressive mindset, and he got going, and it's hard. He's very hard not just to stay in front of. He's very hard to guard because of his speed. He stops very quickly, and on that night he made smart shots too.
I asked Io if he was pressing, and he gave me an emphatic no. Do you think he is, and what do you make of his game so far?
I think Io's fine. I think Io works hard enough that he doesn't feel like he has to press or do anything else. I think that we got him some great looks. He made some really difficult pull-up jump shots. He got to the rim on a couple of occasions that they made a really good defensive plays on a couple times. But the one thing I don't worry about is a really good player and that has a bad game. And I wasn't his best, but he'll bounce back.
I think I know the answer, Brad, but are you more worried about the defensive end or the offensive end right now with this club?
Oh, the defensive end.
Right.
Not even close. And it's a commitment. It's a pride thing at that end of the court, and we've shown at times we can be really, 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 really good. And yet it's the old cliche that we talk about a lot. You're only as strong as the weakest link. And our mindset's been quite a bit different this week than it was heading in. And again, that's it's an attitude, and it's we talk about nameless and faceless. It can't be about who we play. It has to be about what we do, and it's again, it starts in practice, and it's paying attention to a scouting report and learning a scouting report and understanding the details of what that scouting report is, and not making those mistakes. And the simplest lack of communication causes major problems. And that was a big part of what we did the other night. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Miami. They earned it. They made the shots.
As efficient as Trent was against Miami offensively, there are times when maybe you encourage him to tap into a little bit more of that score side that he has?
Yeah, I mean, Trent's just a really good player. Trent just makes a lot of right plays. I don't think Trent forces anything. I don't want him to have to force anything. I think we've got a guy who's capable of getting 30 if that's what the defense gives him. And I think he's grown in that area. I think, Io can do the same thing. Dre's had big games. And obviously it's a balance. I mean, offense isn't the problem. I mean, we other than our just carelessness with turnovers, and our part of our defensive stuff has been compounded by just senseless turnovers. And I looked at Maryland's game last year. I mean, I think we turned the ball over 9 times, maybe, so real close to that, 9 or 10 times. And in the game against Miami, we have 23 points off turnovers. It's really hard to guard live ball turnovers, and some 6 of them were just passing and catching and throwing the ball to the guy in the right colored jersey, and we didn't do that, and that's just lack of mental focus on that end. Otherwise, we shoot 52 or 3%, whatever it was, and our balance offensively is one of the best in Power 5. So we feel good about that end of it, our careless turnovers, and it's affecting our defense as well.
Notice DeMonte was one of the first off the bench in the last game. How big of a factor was he defensively in being able to come back in it?
Well, he's huge. I mean, DeMonte's length gives us a huge advantage, and I think that his versatility in being able to guard multiple positions. I think his IQ is extremely high. He's we call it a stunt guy. It's helping the helper and showing a stunt, and he does it better than anybody else. And that just gets an offense out of rhythm. So yeah, DeMonte was a huge part of that the other night.
Is his role then offensively? Are you okay with where he's at on that side, or do you want to still see him fill it up a little more?
No, he's been great. Not everybody has to go out and get 30 to be considered a good night or a good player. I love his aggressiveness. He's taking good shots. He's going to make those, and then his aggressiveness. He gets to the foul line. So I'm very pleased with the way he's playing at both ends of the court.
Trent's overall usage from last season to this season's dropped a pretty good amount. Do you want to get him more involved with the way he's been shooting the ball lately, or are you comfortable with the role he is in right now?
I don't know what you mean by his usage. His minutes his minutes are very, very comparable. That means we got a better team. That means we got better parts. His first year was him and LaRon, and he had to be that guy. And our balance offensively is incredible. I would love to have 5 guys or 6 guys in double figures. That's the perfect scenario. I don't need one guy to average 25 points a game, so you guys are all happy that one guy gets a bunch of points. That doesn't win. And when we got balance and winning basketball and 4, 5, 6 guys in double figures, then we're going to be a really good basketball team on that side of the court.
Yeah, I just meant by his usage rating overall.
Yeah, Trent's playing and not forcing anything. He's taking really good shots, and his assist numbers are are exceptional. He's one guy that's not turning it over a lot, although he had 1 or 2 the other night that were careless. Yeah, I've been pleased with Trent. And yeah, when he gets 4 or 5, you'd probably like to see him take 1 or 2 more and check the burner to make sure it's still really hot. But he's playing the right way, and he's been by far and away our best defender.
Brad, I know it was a more natural move back for Georgie to go back to the 4 because that's what he played before he got here. But did you think defensively it would be a transition for him to go back to guarding 4s?
Yeah, no doubt, and it's actually helped him. I've been really pleased with the job that Georgie's done. I think the one thing that he's having to get the biggest adjustment, a lot of force play, a little more out on the floor. But Georgie wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great at protecting the rim, and so that transition's been pretty smooth for him. He's so smart. He's such a high IQ guy that his positioning's always correct and always right, and it's the game by game being the details of a scouting report that have changed the most for him. It's not his ability to guard it. It's where his positioning is going to be, knowing he's not guarding a guy in a ball screen all the time now. That's going to Kofi. He's going to guard a guy that's probably spacing a little more. So, those are the changes that he's having to learn on the defensive side.
On the fewer turnover front, Allen mentioned that that he put a lot of focus into that. Is there just one thing he's doing differently now that he's maybe being a little more secure with it?
Yeah, I think he's just stronger. I think he's trying hard to not do too much. I think he wants to stay in his lane. And I think last year, especially early, Allen was ultra aggressive all the time, maybe thinking he was back in high school, and got a little out of character, and much more mature, much stronger, understands his role. So yeah, Allen's been playing great. He's been really good in practice.
Do you expect Tevian Jones to play tomorrow?
He'll suit up tomorrow. He'll suit up.
Brad, back to Trent's defense. He was in the picture, literally in the frame, for all of his highlights the other night. And do you think he was just surprised by the quickness?
No.
Wasn't ready for it?
When you're in ball screens, it takes multiple defenders to guard a ball screen. And that's why they're really good at it. And then Likes is a kid that has an uncanny ability to lean back and shoot when he shoots his jump shot, and that gets hard to get to. Some of those shots are hard. Those are some of the same shots he took in a game against Florida that didn't go in. He made them against us, and sometimes you tap the guy on his backside and say, "Good shot." It was just that. But Trent's always in the right spot. Sometimes guys just make shots, and that night they made them.
Do you think he's embracing the challenge against Cal?
Absolutely. Trent, it's a pretty good feeling when you get a call or a text, I should say, at 1:30 in the morning, and he's in with one of your coaches, watching every play of the game at 1:30 after the game, and that's the player Trent has turned into. And the next day he's back in the gym. It was a day off, and he's back in the gym, getting up shots. That's the pride thing that we all have to embrace.
That Cowan matchup for Trent has a lot of history behind it too, going back to his freshman year, the foul that led to him getting the free throws, and again last year in MSG. Just what do you feel like that matchup against Cowan means to Trent?
Well, I think I think Trent thinks he's a really good player himself. He knows Cowan is, and Cowan's been a guy that's had a reputation for a long time. He's a guy that's proven, and I think that everybody loves going up against really talented guys that test themselves. And last year's battle was fun, and as the one the year before was, and I don't expect tomorrow to be any different.
But with Tevian, with whatever point he's worked back in fully, whether it's tomorrow or down the road, just what does he add, and how much have you needed it?
Well, Tev gives us length. He gives us, an athlete that we don't have, and haven't. He's a guy that can obviously make a shot. He's proven that. And Tev's got he's got to be consistent. He hasn't played a game yet, but he's been very good in practice. He's a guy that can be a really, really hard shot maker, and we'll see how that pans out in terms of minutes and defensive assignments and so on and so forth.
Even though it's not an injury, but there's still a conditioning aspect to getting back into game shape.
Yeah, no doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt. He's not what I would consider in game shape. He's in practice shape, but he's been on the treadmill. He's been doing extra workouts in terms of understanding what his conditioning needs to be and working very hard at that. So. I'm really proud of Tev, and he had some academic situations that we addressed, and he's handled those. And there's a lot more to this, being a part of this than just the basketball side, and we forget about the student side. And we hold guys accountable, and to his credit, he's handled that very matter of factly and in a great way.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
What's up, Slim? It's a good day for